Hi everyone, so I wanted to do a short video on giving people tips on how to support your friends or family going through a tough time. So first of all, what creates well-being and happiness in individuals? Well, a Harvard study revealed that adult development strongly correlated with strong relationships more so than a good career and wealth in individuals. People's life satisfaction was strongly and positively associated with good relationships in their lives. So it's really important to preface that before we go on to discuss the skills required to support people through a bad time, because that sort of sets a baseline for that human connection that you're about to have with that person and how that is almost like a lifeline for that person going through a tough time. So step one is to hold back on giving advice to people. Sit with them, sit with their grief, hold space for that person, and try to avoid being factual and allow that person to open up their feelings in the conversation. It's better to be curious about a person's needs as opposed to fixing the issue. For example, Sally comes to me and says, my boyfriend has just broken up with me, and you say to Sally, the best way to fix that is to get your mind off of things and go for a run and go see your friends. It's important to let Sally talk about her feelings before trying to solve Sally's problem and making it logic-based as opposed to acknowledging her feelings and making her feel better. This kind of leads on to a next thing, and I know I've been guilty of this in the past, and this is to avoid stealing the person's story by talking about a similar story that you can relate to. So, for example, a person tells you that they have just found out that they have a chronic illness, and you have suffered from a similar chronic illness, or you know someone who suffered from a similar illness, and you try to relate to that person. This is actually taking away from the person's pain in that moment and shifting the conversation to your own issues. And that person might not have the capacity to support themselves in that moment, in that conversation with you. So it's important that when people want help, it's important not to make it about yourself. And it's also important to ensure that you're giving all the attention to that person and that you're supporting that person. Another thing that I know I was guilty with at one stage, and that is toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is the belief that people should be overly positive and overly optimistic when faced with negative experiences. Now, this can be the person that's talking to you about their experience, or it can be the person supporting the person going through the tough time. This can look like saying things such as, it could be worse, you could have broken your leg during the skiing accident, but you just broke your arm. You could have broken your leg and your arm. Or it could be worse, or at least your house didn't burn down, you just burnt down the kitchen. So it sort of takes away from, again, it's taking away from that, it's invalidating that person's feelings and experience at the time. So it's important to avoid forcing a positive attitude on someone when they are going through a tough time, because you don't want to invalidate their feelings and what they're going through. It's also important to listen and to reflect back to the person, which leads me to step 4, which is the actual skills that you do want to start using to start helping that person. It's important to listen to that person, reflect back to the person, and ask them really meaningful questions in response to what they've just told you. So for example, Sally comes to me and says, my boyfriend just broke up with me. I'm absolutely devastated. I feel terrible. I can't go to work, I can't get out of bed. And it's important to then reflect back what Sally has said to you and say, oh no, so you're saying you can't get out of bed, you don't feel like going to work, and you feel terrible. What can I do to support you in this time? What would you like to do right now? Would you like to tell me more about it? So it's really important to ask open-ended questions to explore that person's feelings. And when that person is ready to receive support, then you can of course refer on to a counsellor or a hotline such as Lifeline. If you think that person is going to commit suicide, it's important to ensure that they are seeking adequate medical help. So I hope that these tips helped you and they can help you support your friends or family going through a tough time. And yeah, I hope that you found this to be beneficial.